Hey guys, how are you? I think we're live. You guys, we get to go live with Georgia House Representative Sam Park in, I think, 1 minute. Actually, it might be now. Let me just figure out how to add him, because you guys know that I'm not good at that. Okay. It's sent. Awesome, you guys, I'm excited to do this. This is me, kind of getting to live my dreams as Rachel Maddow, or to eventually, fingers crossed, join Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon on CNN. So this is my audition tape. No, I'm kidding. No, but really, I'm super excited to do this. So I'm looking forward to talking to Sam. Let me see. I think we are all good to go. Let's see. In true Colton fashion, I probably didn't do this right. Okay. There it is. Okay. Do it right, you guys. What's new? What's up?
Hi,
How are you? It's so nice
I'm
to
good.
finally meet you.
Likewise, likewise. Thank you so much for doing this. It's an honor and pleasure to be here with you.
The pleasure is all mine. Are you kidding me? I'm sure you've been so busy just getting everyone geared up, getting them out to vote. I mean, early voting is now, so.
That's right. It's definite. There's definitely a lot of excitement. There's enthusiasm, especially given how big the stakes are. But I'm a big fan, and of course, again, thank you so much for taking the time to highlight and to encourage your fans and everyone who may be watching to help us win these two important races in Georgia.
I mean, this is the least I could do. If I lived in Georgia, I used to live in Georgia when we were shooting Teen Wolf, but yeah, if I was there, I'd be out there with you guys. So this is the least I could do. And if we cannot have a bunch of interruptions from my cat, I think this'll be fun.
I have a cat too who's thankfully napping, so it goes
Well,
both
if I tried to put my cat in a different room, he would cause a lot more problems for us and wouldn't actually allow us to talk. So I have to keep him kind of roaming around. And he knows that I'm on the phone right now, so he's gonna probably cause some problems, but we'll get through it. It's fine.
sounds good.
Awesome. Well, I have some awesome questions for you, and that way you can kind of give us some more information on what, if you do live in Georgia, what you can do and when you can vote. And if you don't live in Georgia, there's also tons of ways that you can also help. So I'm going to read some questions for you.
Sure.
Let me see. The first question, it is here. Okay, there it is. I was like, where'd they go? Um, okay, the first question. So in November, the nation witnessed Georgia flip blue for the first time in decades, but Democrats have traditionally had a difficult time driving turnout in runoff elections. This moment obviously has to be different. So why is it important for each of us, and especially young people, to get out and vote in January, right now?
So thank you for the question. I'll try to focus on answering. But we saw historic turnout amongst young people, where the next generation really rose up and demanded change. As I had mentioned earlier to you, politics is personal because the decisions made by our leaders affect our very lives. And so I think that kind of desire for change, that kind of desire for progress, particularly during such an incredibly challenging period of time, will hopefully drive the next generation and all these first-time voters back out to the polls, given everything that's at stake with these two U.S. Senate races. Georgia, once again, has an opportunity to help determine the course of the Biden administration and this country. And Joe Biden, president-elect, has mentioned often the four challenging crises that we face all at the same time, from the pandemic to the growing income and social inequality, to the demands for racial justice, to the existential threat of climate change.
Yeah.
We have an opportunity to address each and every one of those challenges and to come through together stronger as Americans. But what we need cooperation. And the best way in which we can do so is by electing Reverend Warnock and John Ossoff to the U.S. Senate so that Joe Biden has all the support that he needs to make progress and to pass legislation that can really solve these problems for all of our benefits.
I mean, that it, gosh, it's like we thought we were kind of done in a way after obviously with electing Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and now I mean this is just as important. So
Absolutely.
let me see. So another question. Here we go. So obviously a January election is extremely unusual. So can you just talk to us and talk us through what Georgia voters need, what they need to know? For example, do they vote by mail, or can they vote before January 5th?
So folks have three options to vote in this critically important election to ensure that their voice is heard. In-person early voting started this past Monday, so you can go vote in person early if you want. You can vote by mail by requesting an absentee ballot, receiving it, and then from the safety of your home, filling it out at home, and then dropping it off at a secure drop box to make sure your vote counts. Or you can go and vote on Election Day, which is January 5th. One of the key point with early voting is, of course, it ends on December 31st. So you do have options. And please, for folks in Georgia who may be watching, please make sure that you vote and make sure your vote counts.
Oh, thank you. Okay. So now we're going to move to healthcare. And thanks to the Affordable Care Act, young Americans, they can stay covered under their parents' health insurance. And people can no longer be charged for being a woman or denied healthcare coverage due to pre-existing conditions like asthma or diabetes. How important is that we protect the Affordable Care Act?
Healthcare is a matter of life or death. I first ran for office back in 2016. I challenged a three-term Republican chairwoman because of the importance of having access to healthcare. My mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and it was public health insurance, Medicaid and Medicare, that gave her a fighting chance. And so, with the understanding that access to healthcare is a matter of life or death, that created a fire in my belly to stand and fight to ensure that every Georgian has access to healthcare. And that's exactly what Reverend Warnock has done throughout his many years in public service and as steward of Ebenezer Baptist Church. He's been on the front line, fighting for every single Georgian to have access to health care through the public option, through Medicare, through Medicaid, because we understand, especially being in the wealthiest country in the world, that it's just unacceptable that especially in a place like Georgia, where we have the highest uninsured rate, we have an HIV/AIDS epidemic. We have the highest maternal mortality crisis rate in the country, which means that Georgia is one of the most dangerous places in this country to have a child. There's so much that we could do. And I know that Reverend Warnock, because he's demonstrated by his commitment and with his actions, being on the front lines, fighting for access to health care in Georgia, which is, again, another reason why we need to send him to the U.S. Senate to ensure, again, that every American, every Georgian has that safety and a fighting chance that healthcare provides.
Definitely. And I saw him on The View this morning. So if you guys want a little more information, go watch that from today.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to move to a little bit about climate change and the climate crisis. So our climate crisis is an intergenerational issue. While we see serious harm today, the worst case scenarios all play out in the future. That may explain why younger people have been such leaders in the push for change. And where did the question go? There it is. No. Oh, this is me with technology. This is like,
You're
like literally, they trust me to do this. Like this is what we get.
you're
What?
doing a fantastic job.
um. Okay. There it is. I have the first part of the question, but okay, there it is. So, as the next U.S. Senator from the state of Georgia, how will Warnock work to advance climate policy and ensure a better, brighter, and more sustainable future for Georgians and Americans across the country?
The fantastic thing about Reverend Warnock is that all of the things that he says that he's going to do and that he plans on doing, he's done.
Yeah.
Over the past few decades of his life and his commitment to serving the people of Georgia as the senior pastor for Ebenezer Baptist Church. He understands that environmental justice is racial justice, particularly given how communities of color and marginalized community are disproportionately impacted by the environmental policies that result in pollution and the worsening quality of our water and the air that we breathe. So first and foremost, Reverend Warnock would work with the Joe Biden administration to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement. He would work to roll back some of the harmful policies that Trump initiated to ensure that we have clean air, particularly when it comes to policies under the Environmental Protection Agency. He would work to ensure that we are investing in clean energy. And so, I think particularly when it comes to climate change, the differences between the Republican and Democratic Party could not be more clear. In which
One of them
Republicans
actually believes that it's real. So yeah.
exactly, but Colton, I think that's such a critical component because if you deny the existence of a problem, you're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that Reverend Warnock doesn't just understand the reality of climate change and the danger it poses to us, and particularly the next generation, he's going to do something about
it. Yeah.
The other component that I think is just so important is, when we look at movements in which we've made incredible progress in this country, it's always been led by young people and the next generation. And without a doubt, I know Reverend Warnock will be working with young folks across this country and across the world with arms linked to ensure that we avoid the worst of the ravages of climate change and that the next generation has the opportunity to inherit all the great resources that we've had the privilege of receiving.
Oh, definitely. This new generation, they're putting at least my generation. I'm not sure how old you are, but they're putting mine to shame. So
I'm 35, so
you're 35. What?
Yeah.
You need to send me whatever water you're drinking, because. Okay.
They say age don't age, right?
Oh. Okay. The next question. Please be on here. There it is. Okay, cool. So from the protests following the killing of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta to demonstrations in the aftermath of the murder of Breonna Taylor in Kentucky, police violence has caused nationwide unrest this year as Americans take to the streets to demand justice and policing. Meanwhile, Warnock's opponent, I can't even believe I'm going to say her name out loud, Kelly Loeffler, refuses to even say that Black Lives Matter. So how can we rise to meet this moment in our history to rebuild trust between law enforcement and the communities that they serve?
I think first and foremost, how about we get rid of all the politicians that continue to pit law enforcement against people of color, right? Including those such as Senator Loeffler and David Perdue, because when all is said and done, it is that division, I think, in which they are able to benefit themselves, right? When all is said and done, all of us, right? Black, white, Asian, Latinx, gay, straight, we all want safe communities, and law enforcement plays an important role in that aspect. Reverend Warnock believes in supporting law enforcement. He's worked with law enforcement. Again, look at his actions to understand what he plans on doing. But he's worked with law enforcement to ensure that communities of color are protected. Community policing, I think, is an excellent idea in which those who are ensuring safety come from those communities. There needs to be, and I believe Reverend Warnock also believes that there needs to be greater investment in law enforcement so that they are able to do their job effectively, right? So, for example, if there's a mental health crisis, right, rather than send armed law enforcement to break down a door, right, send mental health experts, right, to address the issue. There is so much that we can do if we are able to first, at the very least, acknowledge the problem exists, right? I've spoken with members of the Korean American community, and what I tell them is, how many times have you seen a Korean person on the street with an officer on their neck to the point in which he dies, right? We have to address the issues that are here. And Reverend Warnock will do just that. And he will work with folks across the aisle, including with law enforcement, to ensure that our communities are safe, that we are investing in law enforcement and working together, ultimately, to achieve the objective, again, that we all want, which is safe communities.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, oh gosh, it needs to happen soon.
I agree.
So right now, millennials, they're the first generation in American history since the Depression to be worse off financially than their parents, and student loan debt, it's reached record levels because of the cost of college, which has more than doubled since the 1980s. Students in the graduating class of 2018 have an average student loan debt of $29,800. And as of 2019, student loan debt reached a national total of $1.5 trillion. That is crazy. How can we address the college debt crisis and create ladders of economic opportunity for the next generation?
Cancel student loans.
Yeah, right?
Right. I mean, as someone with student loans myself, right? I personally experienced the financial and economic constraints that provides in terms of my ability to buy property, to build wealth, and to thrive in this country. And I know many of my generation, of our generation, are likely in a similar position. There have been many proposals made to do just that, whether it's canceling $50,000 worth of student loans, or whether it's reforming the way in which student loans are paid back. But ultimately, I think we also have to address the issue, and I know Reverend Warnock would do just this, is ensure that there is access to higher education such that everybody has that opportunity, given how important education is to economic mobility, and thriving, especially as we're moving more towards a knowledge-based economy, where we're given the challenges and the increasingly complex world that we live in. It's important to ensure that you have, a four-year degree. So without a doubt, I trust Reverend Warnock to look after my best interests and to advocate for me, because that's, again, what he's done his entire career.
Yeah. I trust him too, and all of you should as well.
Yeah.
Watching. Okay, the next question. So this is going to be patting you on the back because you are basically breaking, I mean, you're groundbreaking. So as the first Korean American, or first Korean and first openly gay man to be elected to the Georgia State House, congratulations, by the way. You know firsthand the impact of having LGBTQ allies representing the people of Georgia. So how has Warnock used his pulpit and platform to support LGBTQ plus people? And why can we trust that Warnock will fight for us in Washington?
Reverend Warnock has been a lifelong ally to our community, and I think a lot of that is grounded in the civil rights movement, right? I think it really is such an opportunity as Georgians to send someone like Reverend Warnock to the U.S. Senate to represent us, because he's been entrusted to steward Ebenezer Baptist Church, the spiritual home of Dr. King, who led the civil rights movement and fought for the equality, liberty, and justice of all of us, right? The Asian American community has greatly benefited, the Latinx community, the LGBTQ community, all of us has benefited by ensuring equal protection of the laws. And that is in Reverend Warnock's DNA. That is what he is committed to. And again, when it comes to politics, of course, when it comes to passing legislation, it is a matter of numbers, right? If we do not have a majority in the U.S. Senate, we will not be able to pass the Equality Act that prohibits discrimination against people like us in housing, employment, public accommodations, in our finances, our bottom line. And I know without a doubt that Reverend Warnock is committed to ensuring that he will vote for the Equality Act. He will fight to ensure that our communities are protected from discrimination. And he will do everything possible to ensure we have every opportunity to thrive in this country we call.
I know. I believe him.
We did.
Let me see. So to kind of get to a close, can you kind of share with us your voting plan?
I have my absentee ballot.
It is. So when would that be? When is the cutoff date you said again to get them in?
So you have to ensure that they are received by January 5th, right? So I'm going to fill this out, make sure that it's accurately filled out, that my signature is correct, because there's going to be a lot of scrutiny when it comes to absentee ballots. And then I'm going to drop it off in a secure drop box that has 24/7 security. There's always cameras watching to make sure there's no foul play or nonsense occurring.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go online and check to make sure that they received it. If for any reason my absentee ballot is rejected, they do have to provide me notice under Georgia state law and give me an opportunity to cure any issues if necessary. But that's my plan. I voted absentee during the general election, and we saw a huge flood of absentee ballots that again helped lift Biden over, to victory.
Yeah.
And so that's my plan, and I plan on sticking to it.
Gosh, we were obviously just all of us, at least in my friend group, were just glued to the TV, and everyone was stressing out. And I was like, "You guys, calm down. We know that the mail-in ballots are going to take a little more time than we thought." And then, thank God it all worked out for us.
Exactly.
And I really honestly, like, it is so nice to finally meet you, and I appreciate you for sharing your knowledge with us. And I learned a lot, and there's still a lot more I can learn. But I told, before you got on here, I told everyone that this is my audition to try to be Rachel Maddow's either assistant or work with Rachel, or join Don Lemon and Andrew Cuomo or Chris Cuomo. So yeah, but I cannot thank you enough.
Again, thank you for having me, and thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to highlight such important races in Georgia that again are going to impact our lives over the next 4 years. I'd also say
it's not just Georgia; it's affecting all of us. Yeah,
absolutely. And so I would say Rachel Maddow should definitely hire you on the spot. I think you've done a phenomenal job.
No, I was gonna wear glasses, but like I didn't want her to feel that I was trying to compete with her, because I'm not. I can't. But yeah, so Rachel, if you're watching, I'll get myself to you. I'm kidding. But you guys also, so there are many ways, like we were talking about earlier, that you can also help if you don't live in Georgia. And so you can text youth to 52005. Once again, that's youth, YOUTH, to 52005. And you can join the campaign and receive information on how you can inspire your community to vote in this extremely important election. And if you don't live in Georgia, there's also other ways you can help. You can go to, I believe it's votewarnock.com.
Yes.
Yeah, you can go to votewarnock.com and get more information there. Or also follow Sam. It's at Rep Sam Park. If I got that right. Yeah, and there's just tons of information. And you guys, this is extremely important. So for those of you who watched this and stayed, we really, really appreciate it. And just please get out there and vote for Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff.
Well, thank you again for having me. If I could repeat the immeasurable words of Congressman John Lewis, the vote is the most powerful, nonviolent change agent we have in a democratic society, and we must use it. We have an opportunity again for the folks in Georgia to change the course of this country and to ensure that we have the best of the best, not only advocating for us here in Georgia, but for folks around the country, for LGBTQ Georgians, for Americans of color, for all of us. And so we have the ability to do it. We've demonstrated that we could turn Georgia blue this past November. So let's get back out there and do it again this January.
You guys, and once again, thank you so much. And we're going to keep in contact. And also thank you guys who watched, and hopefully you learned as much as I did.
Thank you again.
Take care, man.
Bye.
Thank you again. Bye, guys.